She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Do you know some negative Nellies or Neds? Oh, I think we all have a few in our life. Hi, this is Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're here every single day to bring you helpful content that's going to keep you on track and helping your life to become more successful in every area of your life. And why? There's a calling on your life, my friend. There's a reason why you're on this planet, and it is not just to suck up oxygen. That's not the purpose for your life. So today I believe that you're going to get a really good strategy as we uncover a very common problem that all of us have. In fact, even famous basketball players have these kinds of problems. In fact, I want you to hear this quote from Kobe Bryant. Everything negative, pressure, challenges, it's all an opportunity for me to rise. Whoo! Hello! Now that's an attitude, isn't it? He already has a strategy in place to help him for those things that are not good, that are not fun to think about or to walk through. And we know that he certainly has had his problems, his fair share of problems, some of which could be induced himself, and others are just life. Life always deals a fastball, a curveball, and a ball that somehow we hit and it just turns into a foul ball. Every once in a while, that is just what happens. And so we have to make sure that we're prepared for that and we have the right attitude about that. Because those that really rise to high levels of success are ones that don't let that stuff really affect them. They just don't. They see it and it categorizes in, this is just a problem that needs to be solved. No big deal. It's a challenge. In fact, most people in those higher levels of success, they call it challenges. They don't even give it the glory of calling it a problem. But we all have negative influences in our life. People who condemn us, people who mock us, people who make fun of us. Come on, this stuff started on the playground, in the third grade, second grade even. Some kids start to turn into brats, unfortunately. But yeah, we've all been mocked. We've all been made fun of. Some of us have been criticized, condemned. Some of us have been put down. Some of us have been publicly humiliated. And here's the reality. Today, we're going to show you how to deal with that stuff. But first, before we even get there, there's one fact that you have got to wrap your head around. And I'm sure you've heard this before. I know you know this. If you spend any time with us, especially on our website or on this program, you've heard this. You can't change people. You cannot and you will not change people. But you can change how you deal with those people. Negative people have a purpose in our lives. Oh, yes, they do. They have a purpose in your life. And aren't you glad that not everybody in your life is negative? No, Dani, really, everybody in my life is negative. Well, friend, unfortunately, you just revealed something about yourself because birds of a feather flock together. Most of us have a few here and there, but generally speaking, we are not completely surrounded by negative people unless, of course, we are a negative Ned or Nelly ourselves. And if you are, you're hurting your earning potential. You're hurting your financial future. You are hurting your family relationships. You're hurting your work relationships. I literally have got to train my brain to not think like a negative person because I naturally, unfortunately, always see what's wrong. That's what I naturally see first. What is wrong? What is not right? What could have been better? What fell short? These are my natural thoughts, and I have to combat those natural thoughts with looking for what's good on purpose. I have to train myself to go in that direction, and you might be one of those people as well. So how do you deal with the negative influences in your life? And have you even identified with the negative people that are in your life? Have you identified who they are, what their function is, and how much you let them get under your goat? Do you? It's important for you to discover that because you've got to have a plan in place so that you are not caught off guard and not provoked. Come on, we have to grow up. Eventually, at some point, we have to grow up and we have to take personal responsibility for our actions and our reactions. And if we are overreactive, kind of like that song, if we are overreactive, we are hurting our reputation, we're hurting our earning potential. And I want to see you succeed. I want to see all of us succeed better, and we have got to make a better, we got to make this world a better place than what it is. Do we not? Yes, we do. Absolutely. So we're going over the phones. We asked some people on Facebook who, if they've identified some negative people in their life and the influence it has on them and how they are helping themselves move forward. We've got Emil Ham from near Vancouver, Canada. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's awesome to have you here. So tell me, do you have those kinds of negative people in your life? And if so, what do you do about it?
Well, I have a lot of them in my life, and I also have a much larger degree of positive people in my life. Mm-hmm. And I really prefer to hang around with the positive people.
Tell me why.
Well, there's one thing about it. If you're hanging out with a crowd that thinks and believes and behaves like you do, you can actually move forward.
Yes.
But when you have somebody who is in opposition, that's slowing you down, dragging you down, or maybe even stopping you.
Yep. So which side do you generally...
I'm sorry?
What would you say your friends and family say you are? Would they say that you're negative, or would they say that you're more positive?
Generally speaking, positive.
Uh-huh. That means they like being around you.
Most of them do. Yes, most of them do.
So who are the negative people? You don't have to give any names, but how do they exercise this negative influence in your life? And what's your response to them?
Probably the one thing that I find most disturbing when I encounter them is they have the brilliance and belief that they can tell me how I will fail when they themselves are not winning.
Oh, God. Don't you want to smack them?
Sorry, I opened a very large can of worms there. I understand that, but it's true.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? I think that's hilarious. You know what? There's something that I learned about 27 years ago. It was a multi-millionaire that was speaking at a training seminar that I was at. And he said something that just made me go, ding, that makes perfect sense, right? Because I, too, had all kinds of negative people trying to discourage me from starting in business and telling me I would fail and you're never going to make it. Nobody in your family has ever succeeded. You don't come from a family of business. Who do you think you are? You know, you're too big for your britches. You know, you just need to just settle for a real job. You know, don't be some idiot. You're going to go broke. It's just going to fail. Everyone's going to laugh at you. Did you hear those kind of things too?
I heard those kinds of things. And one of the things that I've discovered is that I think they're absolutely petrified of the fact that I might succeed and that they won't be able to measure up.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Yep.
And perhaps the fear of being left behind is even greater than anything else.
Well, we've all heard this before, that misery loves company, right?
Yes.
Yes, and they don't want their little miserable group of people to shrink. They want to add to it, and create a great cloud of witnesses of misery, which is really sad. But it's really funny. You know, I believe that those negative people have a purpose in our lives, and one of them is to challenge us to grow in our character. How will we respond to them? The second purpose that I believe that negative people have in our lives is to test us for how bad do we want it. And number 3 is for those negative people to actually be used to strengthen our resolve of us persisting. Meaning the more negative they bring at us, the more they tell us we can't, the more they tell us we won't, the more they put us down, the more we use that negative energy to fuel us to standing strong, standing firm, and not being moved. And then the fourth purpose for those negative people in our lives is to show them what is possible. And this is it, for us to show them. So the purpose that they have in our lives is for us to set the example of being immovable, to set the example of not being overcome by their death words that they're speaking over us. So these negative people actually have a powerful influence on our lives when we know what the purpose is, why they are there. So again, to strengthen us, to strengthen our commitment, to strengthen our immovable positioning of, no, I am going to succeed. Taking all of that negativity, transferring it into a place of, all right, great. Thank you so much for showing me why I must succeed, because I do not want to end up like you. I do not want to live like you. And so what this man had taught years ago was so simple. And he simply said, look at what they have. Look at their life. And I'm not talking about have like cars, houses, and stuff. That to me is not success. But look at their life. And is their life, their lifestyle, the style in which they live it? I'm not talking about Armani versus Walmart. I'm just saying the way that they live their life, their brand, if you will, how they approach life, how they see life, how they talk about life, how they talk about others. Is this who you want to be? If the answer is no, that's not who you want to be, then you do not allow their advice to penetrate you. You flip their advice around. And if in the case of they're trying to tell you you're never going to make it, you're never going to amount to anything, look at what they're speaking from, because out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So we see that when someone is putting you down and putting down what your dream is or what you're going after, when they're putting that down, we see that in them, there's sickness inside of them, that they are speaking death. And you're not the only person they're speaking it to. You're not the only one they're trying to discourage. And so we have to sit there and use that as fuel of, I will not become who you are. And you're advising me to be like you, and I don't want to be like you. And we use it as fuel to push ourselves ahead. And then also, like I said, lastly, is to set an example that challenges us to set the example of winning. Because one is going to win, one is going to lose. Both have a purpose. One has a purpose in losing, one has a purpose in winning. And the one who chooses to lose, he might get tired of losing eventually and might decide to get teachable and start asking you for some advice. That's the reality. And sometimes negative people, they just want to test you. They just want to test you. They want to see how serious you really are about working towards the dream or the goal or the aspiration or whatever it is that you are going after. And it doesn't matter what it is. Negative people are just negative, and that's it. And they have a purpose, and you got to use that purpose for your benefit, not for your destruction. And if you listen to this show, it's clearly obvious that you are not destined for failure. Will you have failures? Yes, but you would never be attracted to this kind of programming if you were somebody that was a negative Nelly and wanted to stay there for the rest of your life. If you're completely satisfied with your life, you wouldn't be listening to this program. You're here because you want to grow, because you want to advance, because you want to define success for you. You don't want someone else to define it. You want to determine, why am I here? What am I doing with my life? How do I want to live it? And what is important to me, to my family, about how I live that thing out. What's my personal brand on this planet, and what will I leave behind? What kind of reputation am I going to leave behind? So anyway, that's why I love working with you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more about the negative people and what to do with them right after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do with your life? Discover your own answer. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Now, you and I have encountered in our life people that we want to not be around. And I'm kind of just making it very G-rated right there. Yeah, there's some people that have caused you to pull some of your hair out, others that have caused you to have more gray hairs than maybe you should at an earlier age than you should have. You know, there's just some people that cause you to want to avoid work because they are there. Maybe you're that person. Well, if you are, today's the day to change, because that is not the person that you want to be, and that's not the person you want to hang out with. And you have heard this before. We are all a product of our environment. We are a product of who we hang out with. So today, I want you to think about who you are about to hang out with. Who did you hang out with yesterday? Who are you conversing with on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram? Who are you following in those places? Who do you work with? Who do you play with? Who do you vacation with? I want you to look at those that you have surrounded yourself with, and I want you to evaluate, are these helpful and beneficial relationships and people that are challenging me to be better? Are they people that I want to be associated with? Am I the kind of person that they would want to be associated with? These are important questions to ask, because it's so easy to slip in to some of our natural personality tendencies that yours, if it's like mine, is going to be negative. It's going to be naturally finding what's wrong, naturally looking towards where the faults are instead of where there is to encourage and life and where progress is and how things are getting better. I have to personally force myself to think positive because it doesn't come natural to me. And so if you're like that, I give you that little baton right there and say, try that and cause yourself to focus on it daily. Makes me mad how easy it is for me to slip into a negative way of thinking instead of staying in that very positive place where there's life, there's hope, there's encouragement, there's faith, there's belief, there's trust, there's, wow, Disneyland or something like it. Anyway, so we're talking about those negative people in our lives and how we are to overcome and what the purpose of them are in our lives as well. So we're going to Lily Chauvin from Miami, Florida. What's been your encounter with dealing with negative people, and what's your approach?
Hola, chica. I miss you. It's so awesome to be on the radio with you and share a little bit. Negative people, just cutting them off, and really, like you said, they've helped me build endurance in my life.
Yep.
But you gave a depiction one time in one of your first steps to success, and you kind of drew a tree. The art wasn't great, but the message was amazing. And I love it because I'm very visual. So if you paint something for me, it's going to stick in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you saying how God cuts us off. You know, you spoke about that verse in the Bible where he says he comes after us, but there comes a point where he cuts us off.
Yeah.
And about a year ago, I had a dream where there was a beautiful tree, and there were just dead branches, and they were kind of spreading into the part of the tree that was still green.
Yep.
And it was so clear that I'm not God. I can't change negative people. I'm one of those annoyingly positive people, like most people that say, Lily, how do you do it? How are you always so happy? And I think, watching my mom die at 48 years old, that was enough for me to say, wait, life is too short.
Yeah.
So, I'm one of those just annoyingly positive people. And I used to think I can be positive for the other person. That with my happiness and with my joy, I can inject myself into them.
Nope.
But Dani, the years have taught me, no matter how positive I am or how I understand the brevity of life, the other person, if they choose to walk that road where they find the devil in everything or I don't know if you've ever seen that movie with Adam Sandler, where they're like, it's the devil, you know, and everything is just negative.
Yep.
I had to cut it off like a dead branch, and it just has given me the ability to walk in power. And you know, a lot of the teaching that you do, and you know, I'm not trying to kiss your derriere or anything, but it's just the God's honest truth. You've been instrumental, girlfriend. Really, you're like in my head all the time. I listen to your teachings. I haven't seen you in a while in person, but that's just it. I mean, to answer your question, it's just getting to the place in your life where
it's really good
see crazy
picture
coming down the street and you cross.
Yeah, that's a really, really good picture, Lily, and it's so very true. I love the analogy of the tree and that there being dead branches. The dead branches have to be cut off. They really, really do. And we have to look at the impact that negative people are having on us. That doesn't mean we don't love them. It just means that we don't allow their influence to infect us continuously. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
No donkeys, no elephants, no blaming, and no excuses. Just real solutions that will really change things. That's real leadership. Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
My name is Andres and I'm from Latvia. Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a struggling English teacher back home. I had a language school that I started when I was 21 and had grown it to be pretty okay in my city. But at the same time, I had acquired a debt of $60,000. In a matter of 8 to 9 months, I got rid of my debt. And by 2011, we had our first $1 million year. This has been amazing. We grew our school from about 100 students to 2,000 students. And I can only highly recommend for you to come to the next event and be part of this community and learn the tools that will help you to succeed.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, my family and I were hemorrhaging under the pressures of debt. Since attending First Steps to Success in January of 2014, my family and I have paid off over $147,000 in 19 months. We're completely consumer debt free. We have restored relationships, and our business is growing at a rate of 15% at every event. Your next step is to sign up for the next First Steps to Success and start creating your own story.
My name is Jeff Conyers, and prior to First Steps to Success, I was a struggling business owner. I had discovered that my business account went negative $5,000, and I realized that I did not have a business plan and I needed to do something. Fast forward to 1 year after, I have now created, just by implementing the tools at First Steps to Success, over $50,000, created another business, improved my personal and business relationships. Man, it's like the story is forever changing, and it just gets better and better. I don't know about you or what you're going through, but I would highly recommend getting to First Steps to Success.
Prior to plugging into First Steps to Success, we were drowning under a mountain of debt. We were heading to divorce court. We had failing businesses and toxic relationships. Since plugging into First Steps to Success, our marriage has been restored. We have paid off over $56,000 in 11 months. We've helped our community pay off over $300,000 in 14 months. My business has grown in over 600% in 4 months. And for the first time, I could say I'm just loving life. I have great relationships. So if you are fine where you are, then this event is not for you. But if you're ready to reach your goal and to change your life, then I highly recommend that you get registered for the next event.
Hi, my name is Jill Kearns. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Prior to coming to First Steps to Success, my husband and I were struggling financially and were hurting in our relationship a lot. We needed more time together, and we just were struggling with that because of the finances. And so since plugging in, we've actually paid off over $280,000 in debt. We're completely debt-free, and more than anything else, the look on my husband's face of relief and excitement about where our future lies, and the traveling and the fun, enjoyable times that we'll get to spend together as a family is totally worth it. So if you want to have better relationships with your significant other, your children, if you have a desire to be completely debt-free and released from that bondage for whatever reason, whatever the burdens are, your next step is to get to first steps to success right now.
So prior to getting started to DaniJohnson.com, I was a college dropout. I was working a bottom of the barrel type job. I started plugging into her training. I've skyrocketed through the ranks of corporate America. I've tripled my income in the last 5 years. That's all fine and dandy, but it wasn't, there's a part of me that had a part missing. So I ended up using Dani's prospecting skills, and I ended up meeting the love of my life. Since then, we've paid off $32,000 of debt since October 2014. So get here now. This is the greatest thing ever. You have to see this. The skills and strategies Dani teaches are unbelievable. They totally took someone like me with no education and helped me just like multiply my efforts. So you need to be here.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
The way you look at things is about to change. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Negative people, they have an impact on our lives. And in order for you to have the kind of success that you are after, you have got to learn how to deal with them. You can't use them as an excuse. I've heard it so many times, or so many people have said this. Like, oh, Dani, I'm just surrounded by so many negative people. My spouse is negative. My kids are negative. My family is negative. Everyone is against me. And that's why I can't succeed. No, that's not true. You cannot give up on success because you're surrounded by negative people. But what you can do is surround yourself by some positive people. It may be time to find some new friends. It is also time for you to grow into a place of maturity where you realize that you are in control of your own thoughts. And you are also in control of how much you allow those negative people to affect you, how much of your emotion you give over to them, how much power you give over to them. And if it's really close people in your life, like your spouse and your children, then it's time to sit down and have a discussion, because you can't change those, right? You can't change your environment. It's like you can't leave. I'm leaving you because you're negative. No. But what you can do is sit down and you need to have a heart-to-heart conversation with them. I know that those that you are, the person, not those you are married to, because you should be married to one. Anyway, the one that you are married to, if they're being super negative, I know that I've been that way. And so whenever my husband has come to me, it's like, gosh, and then I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the person that is, putting you down or putting down on what you're doing, or one that's not supportive of that. Please forgive me right now. And please remind me the next time I let something out of my mouth that actually sounds like that, because it is just absolutely wrong. It is. It's wrong. And so you would be surprised if you feel like your spouse and your children are negative towards you, or negative towards a dream or a goal that you have. It's time to sit down and have a heart-to-heart conversation. Not be defensive, not yell and scream, but be mature and just bring it to their attention and tell them how it makes you feel. But more importantly, edify them first and just say, I love you and I believe in you. In fact, if I have been really negative about your dreams or your goals or your interests, please tell me now, because that is a painful thing for me to do to you, and I don't want to be that person. So have I done something have I done that to you? And so come first with laying down a fleece before them, an offering, if you will, just saying, if I have been that way, please forgive me. It's really, really wrong, and I need to make it right with you because I believe in you. And then shower them with how you feel about them, the encouragement, and edify them, lift them up, build them up, build up their interests and things like that. And so what you might find is that maybe they're kind of dishing out what you had dished out to them in the past. And so that's what's important to say, please forgive me. I think I've done something wrong and I don't want to continue to do wrong, and I would like to have accountability here. And then if they say, no, you haven't, then this is simple. You move on into the next phase of just saying, okay, well, I was just wondering, because I know that I reap what I sow, and I want to take full responsibility. And another thing I have to ask you for forgiveness for is my reaction whenever I have felt like I've been put down because of my dream and my goal. And I know you're just trying to protect me, and I know you love me, and I know that you're devoted to our family, but it just hurts so very badly, and I just don't want us to be a family that's just firing rockets of negativity at each other. And so it's good to enter in a conversation like that, taking responsibility. It's really good to edify the person that you're talking to and to build up that higher nature that that they have. Every human has it, especially those that are living right close to you. Sometimes the relationship gets so toxic and all it is a mudslinging fest. You have to make a decision to not enter in that kind of communication where you decide, you set the playing field, you set the rules for this engagement of conversation. And one of the rules is that you will not defend yourself, but that you will choose to be open and listen to whatever it is that they have to say, and that you decide to make improvements on that. And then you ask them, if you cannot speak positive to me, if you can't encourage me, then I'm just going to ask that you just let's just stay away from this conversation. Let's just stay away from this topic and just find other topics that are encouraging to each other, that are edifying, mutually building up of one another. By the way, that's totally biblical. That's how we're supposed to live. The Bible says that we are supposed to encourage each other. We're supposed to edify each other as it is today, it says. Today, every day. Encourage, edify, build each other up. Why? Because it's a dark world we live in, and there's so much negativity that's out there. And so we have to be agents of edification, not agents of demoralizing each other or putting people down. I grew up in an environment with tons of putting people down, and it's awful. I mean, it's a terrible place to live, but it's easy for us to land and live there. It's easy for us to become that. And I want to make sure that if you have a goal to succeed and you want to have a better reputation and you want your home life or your work life to improve, it always starts with taking personal responsibility, asking for forgiveness for something that you may have done that you didn't know that you did, and then, continue on in that vein that I just shared with you. So, negative people, how do you deal with them? We've got Leanne Foster from Atlanta, Georgia on the line right now, here to share. How do you deal with those negative people in your life? Hi.
Yes, hi. Well, for me, if it's a professional relationship or a community organization, somewhere where I can't get around them, I definitely know that we can't always pick our environment.
That's
Sometimes
right.
We're placed in places where we have to perform.
Yes.
And we have to work with the people that we've been assigned to work with.
Yep.
So there, I can't control my environment, but I definitely can shift my atmosphere.
Yes.
So therefore, I commend the conversations. If I just see that they're just constantly negative, nothing goes right, the boss isn't good, the coworkers aren't right, the pastor doesn't preach, all that, I make sure that I jump in there every time I get that moment to combat that with some type of positive
Good job.
feedback.
Good job.
And so either they stop talking to me,
Yep. Which is great.
they start to see like me. I know most people have heard the coffee bean, the carrot, and the egg under hot water. They each react differently. The egg goes in with a hard shell, and a gooey middle comes out with a hard middle. The carrot goes in hard, comes out soft under hot water. The coffee bean, it doesn't change. It changes the water. I refuse to not be the coffee bean. You're not going to infect me with that negativity. We can acknowledge things that we can change. I'm optimistic, but I'm not so idealistic that I don't acknowledge when there are conditions that aren't favorable.
Yep.
So I can discuss those, but once we've discussed them, I'm so solution-oriented, how we're going to fix them.
Yep.
So that's how I deal with my professional. My personal, which is always, I've had a brother that we had to distance ourselves because he was so hurt. And I believe that people that are negative are also
they're hurt. Absolutely. Yep.
Hurt.
Yep.
And just brokenness. I've been there.
Yep.
So you don't really understand it until you're standing outside. And I couldn't get through to him. My conversation of me trying to be the coffee bean, me trying to say, well, let's steer it the other way. Well, let's try to overcome. I had to choose to distance myself because I loved him enough, but continuing to try to correct him was just building a bigger bridge.
Well, and not only that, Leanne, but sometimes trying to correct somebody's negative attitude. First of all, who do we think we are trying to correct their negative attitude? Number one.
Right.
But number two, it usually provokes an argument because negative people are so sold on their argument that the more you try to change the way they think about it, the more they try to fight it. And so I think that, and let me ask you this, because this is interesting that you're bringing this up. Do you feel like you approached your brother in the same exact way that you approached those negative coworkers? Or was it a little different?
No, because the investment's different. The investment is different. I can leave. I'm going to love my brother with his negative ways, and I'm going to just have this unconditional desire to want him to be in my life.
Yes. But at the same time, you haven't distanced yourself from the coworkers that are negative. You still were the coffee bean that has made an impact there, but you're not looking for the 100% turnaround right now. Versus with your brother, it's a little different. Isn't it interesting that the one that you are closer with, you have less patience with?
Right, because I think we do people a disservice when we do not let them know. You know how we have those people that have said, I've always done it this way, and I'm 70, and I've been doing it this way. And because no one has really loved them enough to say, okay, you've been doing it this way, but it doesn't work, and it hurts people, and it hurts you, and you're not your best you because you operate out of this. Because people walk on eggshells for other people.
Yep.
We hurt them. We hurt them.
We can.
They're never able to grow.
No, I agree. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we offer the same mercy, the same grace and patience in the workplace and at home. It's much easier, I think, in general, for all of us to have more mercy, more grace, and more patience for those we work with than we do that we live with or our tight relatives. We get more frustrated faster with those. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
So what's keeping you stuck? It's time to get it out of your way for good. Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
My name's Derek, and this is my wife, Michelle, and we're the Holland Sheds. We live in Covina, California, about 45 minutes from here, and we're extremely honored to be able to share our story. And when we were approached about it, I was kind of thinking, well, where do I start? Where do we start? But I'm going to start a few years back before there was a Michelle and Derek. Actually, I was actually debt-free, and kind of going along pretty good. And then a funny thing happened. I got married, and I married into debt. And okay, we're going to do fine. We'll pay it off, and life will be good. But a funny thing happened was that didn't seem to happen. And what, as a result, just kind of thinking it's going to happen, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and something always happens, and and the result is that debt doesn't get paid. So it starts becoming like an old friend. And then unfortunately, the marriage failed, but I was able to meet Michelle, and we got married, and married into debt again. only now it's a little bit bigger, but at least the house that I had, this was during the housing boom, so use some of the equity in the house to pay that debt off, and okay, we got a clean state. Let's go forward. And but in our early days in our marriage, we had some difficulty as far as being on the same page financially, and Michelle will share a little bit more about that. And I guess it's a good point for me to hand it over to her.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Like Derek said, honestly, you guys, the first 7 years of our marriage, when I came into our marriage, he paid up my debt all. And I ran our debt up 3 different times in the first 7 years of our marriage, you guys. I would have never imagined being in that spot. Derek didn't trust me. And it finally got to a place where, my gosh, I can't keep doing this. I was pretty much told to come to this event by a good friend of mine, and it was the best thing she could have said to me because it's what I needed. I would have not have come had I not have had that charge and challenge that way. The moment I got here and we saw the war, I saw the war on debt, I said, this is it. This is our ticket. This is what's going to help us go to the next level. This is what's going to help us. You guys, we've since in 33 months, we have paid off over $159,000 worth of debt. We have money in savings. We have $300,000 in assets, income-producing assets. We continue to plug in. I was the first one to come, but immediately afterwards, I told my husband I couldn't wait. I called him. I told him about War on Debt. He immediately said, let's do it. We had some friends that hosted a War on Debt class there right after, and we went to it, and we found $502 worth of excess spending our first month, and we revisited our budget after that, and then we thought we were just broke, living paycheck to paycheck. We were overwhelmed. We felt hopeless. I never would have thought I would lose my husband's trust, and the techniques, the strategies that Dani Johnson teaches you guys helped us save our marriage, our finances, our communication. You guys, we started out with, my favorite product is spiritual equipping, and I know Darren has a favorite product.
We're on debt, and you think?
You guys, we kind of bought things one by one. However, you guys have a great opportunity outside that door, that table out there, where you can buy the whole DJ University curriculum, and you get almost $1,000, over $1,000 off. So you have either option, but that's a great opportunity for you. Don't let anything stop you guys. There is hope, there is life, and I'm very grateful and honored to be here. So without further delay, you guys, help us welcome back America's favorite millionaire and our mentor and coach, Dani Johnson.
In your face and in your corner. You've never had a coach like this before. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Negative people. At home versus at work. I think it's interesting that sometimes we have more patience, mercy, and grace at work because we don't get paid to argue at work. We don't. But when we try to correct somebody else's negative attitude at work, because we don't get paid to argue, and I feel like I need to say that a third time, we don't get paid to argue. Okay, if you're an attorney, you get paid to argue. But if you are not an attorney, you do not get paid to argue. And arguing, and by the way, the best attorneys in the world actually don't sound like they're arguing. They're actually leading you into a different way of thinking and drawing you into a specific conclusion. They're drawing information so they're not even arguing. The best are not even arguing. You can tell who the low-paid suckers are who never win because they're arguing, okay? Because an argument, no one likes it. No one feels comfortable in it, and nobody is open in it. But when we really, truly love people, and it happens to be like in the case with Leanne Fraser, where it's a brother and he's really negative and she had to decide to distance herself from him because of his negativity. At the same time, I challenge you, Leanne. I absolutely challenge you because when it's your brother, and I know, because I'm guilty of it as well, that I don't have as much patience with some of the people I live with versus versus the ones that I work with. I have less. And usually that's because of undealt with issues. And there's so many more, right, Leanne? Like you got, negative Ned at the office, right? And you don't want to start an argument, and it's not your position to correct him, but it is your position to infect him. Right? And so all you're doing is just steering the conversation in another way. He doesn't even know that it's actually happening in all reality, right? Or he begins to be negative. It's like, dude, gotta go, because I don't want to inhale that cloud of smoke. I don't want the smell in my body right now. So I'm going to just leave. Oh, hey, gotta go. You know what I mean? And then the negative Neds eventually figure out maybe I should change my topic matter. But in the case of the brother, when we have unresolved issues with the brother, and there's so many more places of impact, you know what I mean? Oh my gosh, you frustrate me. This is where, and again, this is what I wanted to say in the beginning. You exemplified great maturity with how you dealt with negative people at work. I believe that you're now in a place, will you challenge yourself to have the same level of maturity with your brother?
Absolutely. And I have an aunt. She's my namesake. And I always put her, as she could correct us without injuring us.
Exactly.
So in approaching my brother,
that word.
I
correct without injury.
To love him through. Yeah, she had that. Oh, she was so soothing.
Yes.
But when she needed to make us, redirect.
Yes.
It was. You never felt like she beat you up. So with my brother, and the hurt was deep. If the hurt was really deep, we went through a very traumatic experience in our family.
Yeah.
And he's still hurt today, and we're almost three years in.
Wow.
However, we've just reconnected.
Awesome.
And so I limit the conversation. I just try to correct him just a little less.
Leanne, if I were you, I wouldn't be correcting him. You are not his mother. You are his sister. Stop correcting your brother. The way you're going to build a bridge for him to finally come over, you've been correcting him since you were a little girl. He feels put down. He feels not accepted. Validate his feelings and edify him, encourage him, build him up, then leave the conversation. Write your brother sweet, encouraging messages. Write another week. Write down what you love most about him. Speak life over him. I bet you that he feels like everybody in his life is constantly correcting him. The one that's going to have the most influence is the one who's going to bring that soothing, healing balm of edification, encouragement, and building him up and believing in him.
Absolutely.
That would be the
Thank
message.
you so much.
Stop correcting. Don't do it anymore. Just love. It doesn't say correction never fails. It says love never fails. Love never fails. So be that light for him. Be that one that will build him up. Be that one. I much rather err on that side than on the other, because I would be the natural one to correct. Pretty soon people get more and more deaf and more hardened towards us if we're that person in their life. So the greatest way to have the greatest impact is to just encourage. It'll shock him. You're like, what? And guess what? As you're sowing life into him, it's going to start to pay off, I promise you. All right, more on negative people. We've got Erica Wilkins from Maryland. Erica, welcome to the show. How do you deal with negative people?
Hi, Dani. How are you doing?
Great.
How do I deal with negative people? I'm more so of a positive person, all the time, so I try to say something encouraging. However, when they come and say something negative, I usually get an attitude, and I feel like you're trying to shut me down because you're saying. So it's we start being combative.
Yeah.
So I just usually just shut down, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna pray for you. That's your problem because evidently you're not listening to me.
Mm-hmm. So Erica, listen to me. Now, if all it takes is for someone to lodge over something negative to kill your positive, sweet, optimistic nature. Can you see that can actually hurt your earning potential? Can you see how that could hurt your relationships?
Yes.
So you have to decide, how am I going to fix this? What is my strategy in dealing with people like this? Because if you don't have a strategy, then here it is. Oh, someone's being negative. Shut down. That can't be your knee-jerk reaction anymore. Not after today. What it needs to be is, I see a purpose for this negative person, and it is to challenge me to grow up. It's to challenge me to not be like I was in the 4th grade when that negative bully was bullying me on the playground. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you shut down there. So, you're still young, but do you want to shut down when you're 40? Do you want to shut down when you're 50? Because we are always going to have negative people in our lives. Always. So, what's going to be your strategy, girlfriend? You better come up with one. Because you can't be like, what if you have a negative person encounter you every day? You're going to end up in a depression on antidepressants. Can't be your strategy. Shut down is not an option. That's when you smile and you love and you know that a negative person is hurting. A negative person is living in a pile of putrid smelling hell. That's where they live, because out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if they're speaking negativity, it means they're hurting inside. It means they're hopeless inside. And so you now don't listen to the words, you listen to the hurt. And you simply just love them and say, I gotta go. God bless you. Bye. And then send them something encouraging, an encouragement message, an encouraging word, an encouraging card that you hand write, an encouragement post-it note, whatever. But you make the choice to infect their thinking by combating it, not arguing, not shutting down, but making the decision to not be infected by them, but for you to infect them. You're not going to change the way they think in a moment. No way will you do that. But you can change the atmosphere with how you pour love and encouragement upon them, and leave it at that. And don't take what they're fishing you. It's not supposed to come into you. You are supposed to infect them. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to continue with more about strategies concerning those negative influences in our life, because you can't give up on your dreams just because someone is negative. Not an option. You've got to push through. We'll continue after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Prior to plugging into First Steps to Success, I was a depressed, hopeless, suicidal drug addict. I had no vision for my life. I absolutely hated people, hated myself. I felt shackled by my debt, and I had toxic relationships. Since plugging in, I've been drug-free for almost 18 months. I paid off nearly $14,000 worth of debt in 14 months. I have completely restored my relationships with my friends and my family. I have a vision for my life now, and I'm actually live and not exist anymore. So I don't know if you have debt or not, or if your life's going perfectly the way you want it to go. But if not, I highly recommend you get registered today for the next First Steps to Success.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, we were just lost. We had no hope and light at the end of the tunnel, and we were drowning in debt. After coming to First Steps to Success and plugging into DaniJohnson.com, our income has doubled. We have paid off over $76,000 of debt in just 45 months. My husband and my communication skills have just raised us through the roof, and my husband has cut back his hours, making more income. If you want results like these, you better get to First Steps to Success.
I have been plugging into Dani Johnson for the last 8 years, believe it or not. And people say, why so long? Well, because there's a lot to do in life, and it has changed every area of my life. My business has exploded. My spiritual life has been unmatched, and my relationship with my wife and my family has just been fantastic. We've paid off over $200,000 of debt in just 2 years. We're debt-free, and I just could not be happier. But if you want to change any area of your life, whether it's your business, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, your financial situation, or getting out of debt, or your spiritual life, I would tell you, you cannot afford to miss First Steps to Success. It's just been a blessing to me and my family. So I really invite you to just get online and get your ticket to the next First Steps to Success. Thank you very much.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Talk about living in a really negative environment. I mean, I want you to just imagine that your babies have woken up, but you have no food to feed them. Talk about the negative feelings that you would have about yourself. I mean, the hopelessness, the guilt, the tormenting shame, that you don't even have a safe place to lay your children's head down. Imagine it's now the end of the day, everyone is really, really starving, and you still don't have an answer for food. Now, that would be a very negative, debilitating environment. Not to mention that you just heard that a home, not a home, but a shelter, a bunch of wood that was all put together by two friends of yours. In fact, your friend Maria was 8 months pregnant with her third child. And yeah, the ground opened up and swallowed her and the home, leaving behind 2 children and a husband. Now that would be an incredibly depressive environment. And yet we have people in our country that are not going through anything like that, and they find reasons to be negative and to be sad and to be hopeless. And therefore they try to get other people to feel the same way. You see, the life that I just shared with you is a life of people that I have personally met and spent time with. People I've talked to, people I've hugged, people I've shared tears with. Those people who live in that terrible, debilitating place, like, yes, Audalis with 4 children as a single mother, 2 of which are babies, and today she didn't know how she was going to feed the babies. You can make a positive impact on so many people's lives with what you just throw away in food every single week. In fact, every single day. You can make such a massive positive impact in transforming an entire family's life by simply forfeiting your coffee binge daily and instead giving that money to help build Audalis a brand new home and put food on the table for those 4 children. Yes, she's working, but she makes $2 a day, and that's not enough to pay for a home that is safe or pay for food for the kids. And so, but you could come alongside and have such a positive impact on somebody. And I know this, that when you make yourself be a positive influence in other people's lives, you now will naturally be surrounded by other positive people. And when you can help somebody else's dream come true, I promise you there's a force out there that wants to help your dream come true. Come and help us do this. Go to kingsransom.org. Again, that's kingsransom.org. Click on Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. You'll see right on the homepage, the very first thing you see is a beautiful little Nicaraguan girl who is living in that kind of an environment. And you can help bring a positive life, a better future. And I know that that favor will be returned right back to you. kingsransom.org. Instead of throwing away food, eat less, buy less. Give the extra cash to kingsransom.org to help build Audalis a brand new home and put food on the table for her, as well as a sustainable project of her being put in business so she can continue to not be in need ever again. I hope that you enjoyed today's show. Be a positive influence starting today. God bless you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.